Something you want.
So the microphone and the camera are on. And we're recording.
Yep.
About a minute.
I got a minute to go here. Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of December 10th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, seconded.
Second
Seconded, any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Approve. Opposed, carried. Okay, new business. I like to do this every year, so. If you want to elect a new chairman. This is the time to do it, or I'd be willing to serve continuously, but anyway, I'm gonna call for a motion and a vote.
Make a motion that we're, keep going.
Okay, you second it?
How about the rest of the crew?
Like we
Can they
keep
keep
the
going,
secretary the same and we're all set.
And
Well,
Jim for
I
vice
think we should
president?
do
You
one
guys
at a
can't
time.
quit, so,
We can't quit.
All right, good.
but I could.
We're in it for life.
You're in it for life, so, okay, all in favor, raise your
So
hand.
wait, for a motion for all officers,
Jim
Sure.
Black is vice chair and
Yes.
Chris Moore is secretary.
Yeah, you're up.
who made the motion, who seconded it, or
I seconded, Jim
made the motion?
made the motion.
We still have our fearless leader.
Huh?
We still have our fearless leader.
Okay, I'm still gonna call for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, thanks. All right, review the article for the wait list. And, this was sent out on everybody's email. Did you have anything to do with it, Howie?
Not the one that's, the previous stuff, that was from John, right?
This is for the, lobster buyers, am I?
Oh, yeah, the lobster buyers, okay.
Do with the wait list first, don't we?
Yeah,
Okay.
this
The wait
is
list is the morning.
the wait list
Oh.
for the,
For the mooring,
the mooring
Yeah.
wait list priorities.
okay,
This is all the changes that we made. This has been written into an actual article that's gonna go in. And it just needs you guys to
yeah,
bless it, and I will pass it on to Claire to go into the town meeting book.
okay.
Motion to accept as presented.
Is there a motion to accept?
Chris.
Chris just said,
Second.
Motion seconded, any discussion about the wait list for the mooring?
What were the changes?
oh, boy,
You wasn't here?
yeah, I mean,
I couldn't even open this when it.
All right. I'll give you the summary, okay?
Yeah.
So basically for the moorings, the biggest change was that we're gonna give residential preference.
Okay.
So with the understanding that there's some percentage, I think it's 80-20 split, okay?
Resident being.
Being how they come in as an applicant on the form and the way John vets them.
So no, my discussion was originally with no. Summer houses are not considered residents.
That's correct.
Right,
Okay.
They have to be a statutory resident.
So,
Okay.
so that's the biggest change in there, okay?
Yeah.
And then, outside of that, the only other thing was tightening up the dinghy dock stuff.
Yeah.
So that, so that we can enforce the 25 and 14.
Yeah.
For 25 horsepower, 14 foot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
and, John, do you have anything to add to that?
I've read through it. It is basically exactly what you guys had put forth. He just put it into all of the legal
Yeah.
language to make the warrant happy on the town meeting floor. I don't have any issues with it.
Any other discussion? So this is something that's gonna be sent to town meeting,
That's correct.
right? Yep. So we're approving an article for the town warrant. All right. Okay, no other discussion, motion to approve? make the motion. Make the.
Oh,
Chris made
I
a
made a
motion, I
motion.
seconded it.
I'm sorry. All in favor, raise your
There
hand.
we
again.
go. Oh,
Opposed, carried. All right, okay, Howie, this is a good time for you. You said you've got new business.
Okay, yeah, so something completely different from the seafood buyers thing was, I felt some compassion for the folks in Seal Harbor over the last year. They haven't had electricity and the bathrooms were, somewhat substandard. And I know the people who don't live in town pay a fee. So I was wondering if it would be all right if we could waive the fee next year for those folks because of the hardship that they felt this last year.
What is the fee for what kind of fee?
Non-commercial fish fee,
There you go.
non-resident, non-resident commercial fish fee, sorry,
It's $500.
$5.50.
Okay, 550.
But we charge it at Bartlett's Landing and there's nothing there besides porta potty, so.
I'm just saying, I mean, those guys, they were expecting that it was all gonna be repaired at the beginning of the year. We kept on telling them that it was gonna be repaired. And for whatever reason, it never got repaired and, and they had to deal with, hauling their traps different than they normally do.
So should we give Rodney $500 since he's a resident of the town and he doesn't pay that? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Okay, I was just trying to
I-
make a good gesture, a good faith gesture, because they dealt with.
One thing about the fee is that it gives the fishermen a degree of privilege that just general use usually doesn't have, and I have stronger feelings about that, especially where it's being kind of overtaken by a couple of outer islands. Daily use.
Yeah, but that's not on the fishermen.
I understand that.
I think he's talking about specifically Seal Harbor.
I'm talking about Seal Harbor too.
Oh, is it?
There's a lot of
There is a lot of pressure outside.
There's a lot of pressure on the dock over there.
I agree, but that has nothing to do with
But
what
they're
I'm
getting the privilege of
suggesting.
using our pier too.
Okay, hey, if you guys don't like the idea, I'm not gonna force it on anyone. I was just having some compassion for those guys because of
Well,
what they
the
went through
reason it
last
didn't
year.
get improved is the neighbor, for one thing, for the power line,
Right, I understand.
and that's gonna change, and
It's out of our hands.
kind of, yeah.
Just so you're all aware, all permits have been required, that are required have been obtained. All proposals to have the work done have been signed and approved by the selectmen. It's all sitting on the contractors to get it done.
We give them a time limit.
They know that it needs to be done before spring.
I got a question, sorry.
Go ahead, Rodney.
If for some reason it does get delayed again, cause it's been a year, they've been figuring it's gonna be done. Is there a chance of getting a generator down there so we can use the crane?
We discussed the generator piece and it's quite a liability on the town's insurance to have something that you or any other fisherman would go over there and start and run. It's a huge liability.
Sure.
My understanding, Rodney.
It was
is
a good
that
idea
The
for,
electrical thing is gonna be solved, because we're gonna put a separate pole in, special pole.
Good, good.
And the Versant Power has agreed to run to that pole.
Yeah, good.
So John, you said all the permits were.
all the
In or-
permits have been
or
obtained.
Does
They're
that
all
mean
okay.
that
Might
the-
take care
All
of
the
it.
proposals have been approved by the selectmen to pay for it. It's all sitting on MCM and the company that was doing the sidewalk work over there. They're the ones that are gonna do the digging. I can't remember their name right now.
Okay.
But it's all approved. It's gonna dig a hole. They're gonna concrete the pole in, so there's no guide wire to keep from having to obtain other permits. And MCM is ready to just,
John, was there
Plug
a
stuff in.
requirement for doing some kind of diving, to look at something, or was that something completely
no,
different?
there's no,
Okay,
there
The only
would
other
be if,
issue I would double check where they ran that new wire to the crane. really poor job,
That's,
somebody like,
it's gonna be redone.
yeah, and I mean, that's all brand new, it's just way
Yeah.
done.
No, I know, it was half-assed.
Yeah, yeah,
That was all part of a
All right, well,
temporary hookup though. It
I'm-
never happened.
If no one else is inclined to pursue this, I'm not interested in
Yeah.
forcing it.
Um,
That's so.
We'll
we
take
can
it
drop
under
it.
advisement,
There
okay?
you go, fair enough. I'll still root for Seal Harbor. As
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you can talk about the seafood buyer's permits if you want.
Yes, I'm gonna leave it up to you because
All right, well,
you're the rewriter of the
yeah,
ordinance, huh?
yes, it's true. So, Chris and I rewrote this. And so this is the best we came up with for, giving, town of Mount Desert residents preference when the lottery system goes into effect. And really just kind of articulating what we have for expectations and how the process works. And that really wasn't there as much before. So it was sort of a revamp. And it was based on Southwest Harbors.
And not being waiting permits, so people got a user permit. You know what I mean? It can't just be like buying a permit just to occupy a permit either.
Right. The only thing that John mentioned to me when I talked with him about it was, that if we're gonna do the preference to residents, he'd like to see it, that it's the 80-20 split or whatever, 75-25 split, where there's at least one spot for non-residents. So
You have that written in here?
no,
No.
that's what I'm saying. I just found out about that.
We have
last
to,
month.
same reason that we did it with the wait list, there has to be a saturation available, so 25% for the 4 permits, be 1 permit would required to be.
Are we saturated now?
No, right now, there's 3 out of
Right.
town. There's only
Right.
1.
Yeah.
In-town person that wants to be a
Okay.
buyer.
Yeah.
So,
So right now, the next one would probably go to someone in town if there
Yeah.
was an applicant.
Right.
So we just need to
We're
write
not
that in.
accepting any more out of town applicants.
Well, at the
We
moment,
would.
that's correct.
we would if no one else applied, we're
That's
leaving it
right.
open to everybody.
What's the deadline?
So we
Right
don't have, we're not offering any,
February 28th? I forget. I think it's February 28th is the deadline.
but we don't have any openings anyway, so nobody's gonna be applying.
That's right now,
Yeah,
that's
next
true.
year.
But this is, in the future.
No, I understand.
What's that? If they don't renew by, if they don't notify John by November 31st, it becomes open. And if they don't comply with the things outlined, they're not using it, they're not, the courteous or not following the rules of the parking, other parts of our ordinance, then it becomes available.
Does this requirement go to the warrant act?
Yes,
All right.
that'll be added to the
Okay,
warrant.
so if we approve this draft
Yeah.
with the addition of,
Right,
I
the
look at
25-75.
some questions.
Yeah, go ahead. One
Um,
second.
state your name.
Jim Bright.
Yeah, no, I saw her hand by.
Oh, I thought, Alan is already okay.
But he's
No,
running the meeting.
Go ahead.
Well, I saw her hand up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
go ahead.
What are the
Tell
latency?
tell us your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike Smolich.
Okay,
Come on.
What are the requirements to meet for the latency?
I don't know what latency means in this
Latency
context.
means you have a permit, but you're not using it.
Oh, okay, so the requirements are that you show proof of business records and your lobster license, your lobster buying license with the state and insurance. And all these things that just shows you're running your business. Because what we're trying to avoid is specifically someone just sitting on their permit. Because maybe they want to use it in a year or 2, but they're busy right now. But once they give it up, they know they're never gonna get it back,
I
right?
guess what I'm talking about is permits where they aren't here all year long, but they show up here for a month.
Well, that's for John to decide, okay? I am not gonna decide here
Well, no, I
right
just
now.
thought that
Yeah,
might be something that should be written into your warrant.
what?
what regular and active use is.
Yes, yeah. Another thing I'd kind of like to bring up on this is that, everybody that you've given permits to is only buying lobsters. I mean, Cubby buys a couple of crabs now and then, but not a lot. You've got all of your permits down there are all one species. You can't go down there with a truck if you wanna buy scallops, and you got a handful of scallop fishermen down there. There's a whole bunch of guys down there that wanna sell crabs too, but nobody's buying them, so they've got a truck on them. If anybody knows anything about this, you go trucking crabs any distance in the wintertime, they're all gonna be dead by the time you get them to where you're going with them.
So I'm gonna give you my perspective of this.
Sure.
We're trying to limit the number of trucks that are down there. We're not gonna separate it from between lobsters and scallops and crabs. But if we kept it we're keeping it at 4 buyers. I guess it would be up to you guys to find somebody who wants to buy that's.
The 4 trucks down
Yeah.
there could buy any species.
Yeah, they can buy anything they
can
want.
Buy urchins.
But they don't
can-
wanna buy
I-
anything. but
Well, I know
lobsters.
that's not up to us
Not
to
true.
decide whether, you know,
The
they're gonna-
last time that anyone has come to me for anything other than scallops.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 15+ years ago, talking maybe
Oh, yeah,
about
that
buying
back during
urchins.
The sea urchin days.
Yeah,
There
sure.
used to be 8.
You know, in scallops, the only one that's asked was an occasional buyer over at Bartlett's Landing, when there was a fleet of draggers over there, because the state had opened that area.
Would people be able to use the one-time $35 fee? Or something like that for,
That's what we're doing right now, in my opinion. If all 4 trucks are sold out down there, do you allow another to come in? Or do you consider it closed because you have sold all 4 permits? Now, Seal Harbor or Bartlett's, if they wanted to buy a day permit, no problem. But this is a decision for you guys to make, in my
if
opinion.
there's not room?
If all 4 lobster buyer permits are sold. They're sold, but they're seafood buyer permits,
Yeah.
they could buy scallops, they could buy urchins if they wanted to.
Go ahead.
So my name is Tegan Candish from the Down East Lobster Pound in Trenton, and we're trying to get it, one of the permits over here. I was at the last meeting where Adam led the meeting for John because he wasn't here. And Adam had voiced when we were asked about a 5th permit over here, you know, what he thought about if there was room. And he said yes, but then Chris later in the meeting had said that he heard differently from John about congestion. So I just wanted to voice, while we're talking about permits and congestion, I just wanted to voice that one of the 4 dealers, RDR, doesn't actively use theirs. And 207 is a smack boat, they just load empty crates in the mornings. They're not hanging out all day long. And Cubby from Trenton Bridge, who's another older, he's on call. He shows up, he loads, he gets gone. He's not hanging out from 10 to 5. The only outfit that hangs out from 10 to 5 is Northeast Lobster Company. So I'm not really seeing the congestion issues that you guys are talking about. And if I was allowed to come, would operate like Cubby, where my fisherman tells me, hey, I'm headed north, can you be there in an hour? I show up, I get them loaded, I get gone. I'm not hanging out, I'm not clogging it up. I'm just trying to get in.
I think the problem is the potential's there, though. All 4 of those guys could sit there all day long if they wanted to.
A lot of the time
They
in the
could,
summer,
but you
there's
never
at
know.
least 2 trucks sitting there idling,
You gotta
waiting
pay your
for
truck driver.
a fisherman to come in.
I think we had a lot of this conversation last time, so.
Well, we did, but that's all right, go ahead.
Do you still sell to RDR?
No, so.
No.
And you sold to
State
RDR?
your name and.
My name is Chris Candich.
Yeah.
I've been a lobsterman. I've been fishing out of this harbor for 34 years, not year round, 34 winters and falls, 6 years, the last 6 years, year round. Just so nobody does something different. You sold to RDR prior till this year.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you- And you unloaded your lobsters where?
Manset.
Manset,
Well, one summer they had a truck here.
because they don't bring a truck here.
They did one summer and then they didn't miss,
That must have been.
4 or
quite
5
some
years
time
ago. 4 or 5 years ago.
Just saying that I've 34 years here. Not saying they haven't been here, but I can't remember a time I've seen an RDR truck here on a regular basis.
No, they're not, but like I said, I mean, I think the potential is the thing that screws us, like, you know what I mean, like,
But
if
But
you're going
people are gonna
traffic.
sell to these people or they're not, and they're not gonna send a truck here if they're not leaving here with any product.
But I think that's kind of why we're trying to get this language in there, Chris, to, do something about latency. Right now, we don't have anything on the books.
So latency, with that latency, do you take their permit away during this year, or do you not renew it the following year?
The way this is written, we would get notified by the end of November. These guys would review in December meeting and make that
So it
determination.
takes a year, it's a 1 year thing.
Well, we have to give them a chance to fail.
So
The wording's
we
pretty
didn't have
vague
any,
anyway.
we don't have anything on the books right
We
now.
have to give them
Oh,
a
I didn't
chance
hear
to
Eric's.
fail.
No, I was just saying the wording's pretty vague anyway, I mean, regular and active, like, you know what I mean, that's
We
gonna
can
mean,
tighten that up.
that's gonna mean something.
We're
different
here
than-
to, this isn't a fully written article. We're here to make arrangements or changes to it and get it written.
Well, John, I came and saw you in the middle of November
Mhm.
in 2024. Before 2025 had happened.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be on the ball, getting one before the new year was here. And you had already given all 4 permits out in early November. Before grandfather was even in your guys' article that you're now making it in there. So that's kind of like a barrier of entry.
Yeah, and it's why we're trying to do something. We really had and Southwest Harbor's got the same problem because our new thing that we're trying to do is based on Southwest Harbor's thing that they wrote. We're trying to make avenues to let other people in, but
Southwest Harbor is currently sitting at 3 permits and next year they're trying to go to 4.
okay,
Also, the reason they're restructuring over there is because of the rating on their docks.
sure.
That is why they're restructuring.
Here's a kicker. In about 4 years, our dock's
Our
not
dock's
even
gonna be gone.
it's gonna
too.
be non-existent for one whole winter.
Every day.
So, we can,
Yeah, this
Understand.
is gonna, I know this could get to be a hot topic, yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Adam Fairley, owner operator Northeast Seafood Company. I think the discussion is important to be had because the use of the dock is vital for everybody in the town. But I just want to address, it's been mentioned a couple of times that our business models are different, that maybe we're leaving a truck there aimlessly, but whenever our truck is there, we have a fisherman actively coming in. So we've been fortunate, we've been able to encourage and garner a lot of business. And so we have quite a few boats out there, and our first boat might show up at 10:30 and our last boat might be 5 PM. And we might have 10 or 15 other boats between those times, but we're not paying a guy in the truck to sit down there aimlessly when there's not a boat actively coming in. So in a sense, you could say we're all buying lobsters on call. When a boat is coming in, we're going down there. So if a smaller business or somebody buying from less people are tending to 1 or 2 boats, it might look like they're running an on-call or a different business model. But as soon as one of those businesses accumulates a large number of boats, their truck's gonna be waiting for boats to come in over a spread out amount of time. So to say that our business models are inherently different, I think is a misleading at best.
So if you pull out all your empties and you disperse them across the whole head of the dock. And then you have your truck that's sitting all day long in the parking lot. I don't see how you consider that on call.
Well, because I explained, you're called in to meet your earliest boat and you have to wait to meet your latest boat.
But all your empties are there all day long and your truck is still in the parking lot.
Well, so that's a different discussion of use.
I can't run the meeting with this private conversation like this. Jim, go ahead.
I have a couple. Under regulations. It says seafood buyers will be allowed to have one buying vehicle in the use at a time per permit.
Yeah, that was already in the previous ordinance.
With prior approval, the harbor master buyers may use the main pier to, but that's kind of, I don't understand prior approval, they got a permit, they're allowed to use the main pier. What I'm looking for, and
Okay, we could take that out, that's sure.
the 30 minutes on the pier, I think that's the right step, we need a time limit on how long we can be sitting on the pier waiting for a boat, cause I know Adam was, I guess that was your name, that there's boat, I've seen the trucks sit there for 2 hours. It got a lot better this summer when they would move off. But, probably takes more than a half an hour to unload a lot of,
I think the time limit could be removed and replaced with actively buying
yeah,
Yeah,
language
If you're-
instead of.
If there's not a boat there,
minute.
you're off the dock.
yeah.
Okay, actively blind, got it.
There's an issue that I feel as a lifelong resident and 50 years using that dock down there, that we're under tremendous pressure right now from lobster buyers.
Yeah.
More than it's ever been before. And this is caused by closures of other businesses and new ways of collecting the lobsters, plus the use of our harbor.
Yeah.
And the impact from the lobstering is pretty big and more on a year-round basis. But the impact from the Cranberry Isles, Sutton Islands is crazy, everything.
Yeah.
And what we have, we don't have any time for moorings. I mean, everything is nuts and we're trying to accommodate the use of everything down there. And I know you buyers would like to have a truck sitting down there and wait for the boats to come in. I'm not a lobsterman, but I would suggest that one method of solving the space problem was that the buyers get together. You're gonna have to agree on something and share the dock, because I don't think it's up to us to allow more trucks on the dock. I mean, just in the middle of summer, when you get Cranberry Island stacking up all the restaurant beer kegs and food kegs and garbage and everything else, it's crazy down here.
The 4 boats going out. It's not good.
Yeah, it's we're under tremendous pressure and this thing about 4 years from now, when there isn't gonna be a pier down here, that's gonna throw a monkey wrench in a lot.
You don't get a permit that year.
Now,
Can I ask you a question that takes us away from this dock?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
the Bartlett's Landing.
right,
Okay,
underutilized.
well, I get that, there's a $35 day per.
Mhm.
Okay. How do we go about working on that? Yeah, it's a single use, I mean, can we pay a flat fee and just use it all summer?
It's up to these guys.
The other fee allows you to buy lobsters off Steel Harbor, Northeast or Bartlett.
We don't have a permit for down here.
Well, you don't have a permit,
Yeah.
I know.
Nobody else is going, well, there are people going over there to buy that we found out about at the Southwest Harbor meeting.
Yeah,
So,
So we wanna know if there's a way to, so that we don't have to call and drive a check over here 3 or 4 times a week, so that we can buy over there. You know, can we get some sort of seasonal permit to be over there? Those guys are all done by the middle of November.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't come up with something. Yeah, I mean, it's underutilized.
so this is like a different paradigm, just in general, for what we do so far in the harbor ordinances. Because the commercial permits that we give out for the operators to do the tours, they work for all 3 harbors. It doesn't matter. So that's a commercial enterprise where we give them a permit and then they can do business. And so the same thing is the way it's written now, okay? And I'm not saying it can't change, I'm just saying it's a different paradigm than we were used to.
But we have allowed. Who do we allow to go into Steel Harbor? Cause Gil Bunker wasn't doing it anymore, the gray boat, right? Captain D,
I don't know.
I think there's
Well, I
some,
don't know
there's
about
somebody
that.
from a camp there that
Did
we allow.
something
him
for
to-
Oh,
the
the H,
little school in town there in Seal
all right,
Harbor.
the camp.
Yeah,
I
there
think
was
we
something
did
that
it
the
one-
gray boat was the captain.
We
D
helped,
was
we helped him
taking
out
people.
with that.
Yeah.
We said,
Where
But
she
normally-
charters the boat.
You know, both Seal Harbor and Bartlett's aren't used
Right,
for
but-
seafood buying. at
But
all.
all, right, and all I'm saying is, you know, it's the same paradigm right now, so it's gonna take us a second to sort this.
Well, no, I was just asking if that could be done.
We don't know.
I think there's no reason we couldn't, but it's something we would just have to figure out a fee and limit it to strictly to Bartlett's.
Or at the very least, I could make a phone call and then I only maybe come over here once a week to give you
So-
guys a check.
So that was one of the concerns, we had this conversation a little bit, and one of the concerns was like a seafood buyer truck on Seal Harbor dock would not bode well.
Why not?
Why not?
Well,
There's
just
been
be,
no room.
yeah, there's
No
just
room.
hardly any room.
It's already
And-
being congested
and-
because of
yeah.
what's happening over here.
And all of the all the pleasure.
But like a pickup, I mean,
It's-
it's not a pickup, but like it just coming over,
Well,
and picking up a boat.
okay,
and leaving.
you know-
Seal Harbor, a little bit, I'm gonna sound off, is they're getting an attitude that we don't. Whoa, wait a minute,
Yeah,
don't let anybody else use over here, cause we're getting all the overflow. Well,
Any
that's
of
what's
these
happening.
four could go over to Seal Harbor,
Yeah,
park the
okay.
truck and buy lobsters if they wanted to.
all right,
So,
There's been a lot of more in the last few years, there's
Oh,
groceries
yeah.
on the dock, they have, who knows how long,
You-
Cranberry Island. Come in, you know.
you know what
boats
happened,
in
Jim?
there.
It was when the yacht club changed their thing and they said they can't take as many dinghies. I don't know why. And they got the lawn.
Because of rubber rafts.
Yeah, and they got the
Why
lawn.
long?
And then a lot of boats came over to us and a lot of people came over to us and there's
Yeah.
been and even like, even their guests, you know, sometimes come on our dock instead of over at the yacht club dock. So I think that's part of the reason. So it has been over the last few years.
But you also gotta bear in mind, both sides of the dock at Seal Harbor and tide work only.
Yeah.
You've got a few more hours on the south, but
Yeah.
on the north, you've got 2 hours before high water, and then 2 hours before, you gotta get out of there. I mean, 2 hours after.
I don't know if we can, make any changes tonight that we're gonna write up, but, I think the board is convinced that we're not gonna expand the business down here in Northeast Alabama. But I can see underutilized space in Bartlett's particularly, and Seal Harbor, and,
So I think
we can't accommodate all the changes that are being made in the industry.
I think we need to address the time thing that we said was actively buying, so
Yeah.
it was 30 minutes sitting. And I think we need to address what their concerns of how many transactions a year. You can't buy like twice a year. We need to come up with a number that facilitates their concerns of.
I agree, if
And
that truck
absent
only
How many
buys,
slips, how many walk, you know what I mean? They can't buy once a year and then be considered a buyer.
right,
Right.
So we need to come up with a number that people are comfortable with, that's, you know, you gotta be here doing X amount of business to maintain that permit.
And the 75-25 for the residents, non-residents.
Was it 80-20?
Oh, well, it's 80-20 for the
4,
other
so
one,
it's
but there's only 4, so the math is easier to do
Yeah.
75-25.
Well, the only way to get a fair count is somehow in the next year, tabulate. Ask the buyers to give us a count.
Well, in what he's written, how it's written that they have to provide that documentation. They have to provide, if they're gonna renew, they have interest to renew, they have to provide the
Yep.
documentation, the license and wholesale license, the, you know, insurance, and then they'll have to do the transactions.
But
Jim, you're trying to get a baseline, right? For what we're
we
trying to
haven't
do.
we've already issued 4 licenses,
Sure.
and we haven't required that.
No, I understand.
So we need, if we want to, that's something we may ask them to start doing right
I-
now.
Oh, I see what you're saying, right.
I mean, they've been through the heavy buying
Well, they'll,
season.
right, well, okay, it's a good point.
For the,
you know.
It does say that buyers must demonstrate regular and active use of their permit.
But what is
So I
that?
think you,
well, we,
Do you know what I mean?
We're
Like,
gonna,
if-
we'll
if-
define it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
we're gonna
That's
define
what I
it.
mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to, it's, yeah.
We'll define it.
So over the next
It's
year,
once a
we
week,
we
regular?
should
twice, twice a year would
go
not
back to
be.
each buyer and say, we're gonna ask you to document
Sure, I
what you're
think,
doing.
I think what I would suggest is someone from this committee get in touch with all 4 buyers and ask them what they feel is an active use permit, because they're the ones using it right now, so
Or
they're
we
gonna
can-
know.
Or we can ask, I don't know if the data is available, but we have to do trip reports.
Yeah,
So, and we say where we sold to a buyer,
right,
so we could ask, I don't know if the state would give that up or that, so. If you come to Northeast, sell this buyer, you'll know how many times someone, a fisherman has sold. And they don't need to know the specifics of who the person is or that.
right,
You'll
right,
know-
right.
We could ask the DMR to see how many times that buyer bought in Northeast Harbor.
Okay, yeah,
Go ahead.
If I could just add to what you're saying, the buyers can submit that information to you. Because when you fill out the landing reports, you have to put in there where they were landed,
yeah,
where you picked them up, whether it be Northeast Harbor, Southwest Harbor, Blue Hill, Bar Harbor.
so they're already collecting
That
this
data is
data.
already
Yeah,
there.
so we can ask them for that, Jim,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're good, okay, perfect,
But we gotta come up with some sort of number of what active is,
sure,
and
yeah,
regular,
yeah.
and
Well, Chris and I will work on it, you know, and then we'll throw it out for next meeting, or.
yeah, I communicate in advance. So-
If you guys are looking to get this in this town meeting warrant,
When's our
Well,
last
I think
chance?
it would have to be done by March.
yeah, we would have to have,
Next meeting.
yeah.
Well-
And we're gonna, next meeting is gonna run, be later in the month.
Yeah, we've got to change the date, but that's
Yeah,
all right,
do a
but
date change.
we cannot solve the issue tonight.
Okay,
is there wording in for the tour boats, like with Mike Olson, how we spoke to him, he hadn't run in a few years, is there wording in there about that, and like such as this, regular and active, or is it?
Well, he's paid his fee, that's,
But there's no wording,
no.
no,
in that,
but
'cause it's a
no,
similar thing.
yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to get that in, but that's later on, you know, let's get this squared away first. And there is some wording about showing receipts. So so that's somewhat demonstrated.
Yeah.
Oh, and they have to pay the fee, right, for each person that comes up, so.
I think, you know, I don't really know too much about it, but possibly we could look into a Bartlett's. Buyers only. I don't know if we could get input from the people out in Bartlett's. But if it's underutilized, maybe that could take a little bit of a.
So there used to be a box truck that sat there every day, all day long. when
Yeah, I
the-
kind of thought I
When the
saw
muscle farm was
one.
there, and so obviously there's room for a truck to sit there all day, which.
Yeah.
And over to Bartlett's, they generally load off a skiff onto the back of the truck off our ramp. They're not using the pier.
No,
We can write a section for Bartlett's and make a special condition
Yeah.
for Bartlett's.
I think we could. We just need to figure out a fee for it and.
And can we get our name on the top?
I think it's gonna be a lottery, to be honest. I mean,
And we
All of
gotta,
them should be a lottery.
you know, if I had to take a stab at how many, I would say no more than 2.
Absolutely.
Like, you know,
we had a
Limited
lottery
space.
on the passenger boat thing a
Yeah.
number of years ago. There was one guy put in either 3 or 4 chances and got 3 out of 4. I never thought that lottery thing.
Yeah.
that's addressed.
Yeah.
You get one.
That's right.
that's gonna be addressed later on. I mean, it takes us a long time. I
And
know you
it
guys,
is, it's very
it
complicated.
takes a long time to get ordinance stuff and reviewed and we're trying for everybody here. I mean, it's
All
not-
this stuff has to be ordinance, not regulation, right?
What we're
Well,
doing now is,
it has
ordinance.
some-
We
yeah,
don't
yeah.
do
It
regulations
has the
anymore.
key to get this in an
But-
ordinance.
I think we could, with the approval of the selectmen, add a, thing for Bartlett's.
So you don't want me to write it up for the next one?
We can, if we're gonna get it in here, we can try. but
Yeah,
Even if we don't get that done, I think we can add Bartlett's with just the
Okay.
approval of the board of selectmen.
all right,
We just need to come up with
all right, so we can
how
do that
many and
afterwards.
a
if we
fee
needed
that
to.
we wanna charge.
I do think we need to address that. If the truck only comes in there once a month or once every 3 months. But he has a permit of space, I don't think that's fair. So I think that needs to be addressed too.
Okay,
And that's what coming up with.
with
What we want
regular and
regular.
active means.
Right,
Right,
regular and active, I think definitely needs to be addressed.
Okay.
I'd also like to say that single use fee at $35 is,
seems free.
that is freaking ridiculous.
And what it's saying, but once a year, I mean, why even?
No, when you,
Well, I don't-
one time they come in, once a day, but. You could probably get a single use permit instead of buying the 5,000.
Yeah, so that needs to be redefined or.
Well, only if it was available, right? Because
Well, I
Johnny
didn't-
said, once four
They're all
are there,
fours, no more.
then he's not gonna sell any single.
The
uses.
only single uses I've ever sold has been over to Bartlett's, when there's been a scallop fleet over there.
Do you wanna up the price on that? Do you care?
No,
I think
if you-
Bass Harbor just listed their fees the other day.
I think if, we're gonna
Anyone
do
else see
some
that?
sort of year-long
Did you
thing
agree?
over to
I
Bartlett's.
did not.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's
but
like
if you take
$500
$35
back
and
then.
times the number of days, it's more expensive to day it
Right up
than it is to
sure.
pay the yearly fee.
Yeah.
Can
they Okay. make
payments electronically to you? They could call and pay over the phone with a credit card if they wanted to. They got a card
Guys
you know,
aren't maintaining docks or anything.
So this is my suggestion at this moment, is that we make all the changes that we talked about, except for the Bartlett's. And we send that off to the attorney to get the okey dokey out. And in the meanwhile, we write up the Bartlett section. We'll run it through email to everyone here, just so that they get it on their view. And then we can present it at the next meeting.
Well, we have to discuss it at the next meeting to get it approved by an attorney. I mean, this is a fairly urgent matter,
Right.
so.
So that's why I was trying to get everything except for Bartlett's to the attorney sooner.
Okay,
Would that be okay?
So can I make a motion
yeah,
that, well, one, we gotta come up with a number, but can we do some of it with, via email? If everyone could
well, we've got to, because
chime in and then be ready for, the next meeting.
Yeah.
Or, and if need be, hold a special meeting.
yeah, we could.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that was an
I
option.
mean, if you guys can get something together and get it back to me by the end of this month, I can get it to the attorney. He can write it
Okay.
and we
Yeah,
can
if we
tweak
do
a
that,
few
that's-
words, but it will be 90% complete with just a little tweak, and I think I have until late the end of next month to have stuff declared to get into
Okay.
the town warrant.
Ronnie, do you have a?
Yeah, Ron, you said, I just picked up on a couple technicalities. Under renewals, November 31st, that day doesn't exist. November 30th.
Okay, thank you.
And then after that, I was a little bit confused, I could be interpreting it wrong, or it could just be a typo of some sort, but all renewed permits will be issued after January 1st.
Yeah,
You have a,
that was meant as like, in my mind at least, like everything was gonna be squared up by the end of December. Whether or not people paid and all that, and then John had all that information, so he could issue the permit beginning January 1st.
yeah.
But I didn't wanna give, like, he had to have it by a certain date.
Well, that's definitely a little bit of a gray area.
So do you want me to say like, all
My-
renewed permits will be issued in January?
They will be issued before the end of December, so they have their permit to operate on January first.
Okay. Okay, how about by December 31st?
There is a 31st of December.
Okay,
And then the last thing I was gonna mention is when we bought our permit, I mean, we kind of did have a mindset that eventually. There's one buyer that has Seal Harbor pretty much on lockdown. We were eventually looking to expand over there eventually. So when we bought the permit, we were under the impression it's for all 3 locations.
It is.
it is,
It is.
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so
We'd like to encourage some use of the other dogs, is what we really want to do.
Mike, you're probably not interested in Bartlett's right now, right?
There's no. fishing.
Right, that's what I mean, that's what, because I was, if it was something immediate, I would think we could give a recommendation and the selectmen could say, yeah, you can go over there, but. But like, I don't think there's anything going on there now.
Well, if you guys wanna put that in there, I would rather have it available than not.
I think it should be part of our
Yep.
offer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try to get it in before the next meeting.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I was gonna mention that doesn't affect us because we're already in there, but as far as the lottery goes, they mentioned that in Southwest, we're given preference to Delta targeted businesses. And one of the committee and this is at the town meeting, I think one of them said there was gonna be a legality issue with that.
I've already had the discussion with the town's attorney from Eaton and Peabody. And as long as we leave a saturation available for non-resident of 25%. You're okay.
That
Same
was a-
thing with our wait list thing that we just did. We can go down as far as 10% saturation for non-residents. We've decided to put it up to 20%
So
to,
you just have to.
you just have to allow at least one or a fourth in this case.
It wasn't written in Southwest Harbor that way.
Yeah.
How is a business a resident though?
No, I didn't see that. Oh,
If it's registered in the town, it's,
I mean, right
It's pretty
now,
easy to-
you know, Northeast Lobster is a resident business, the other 3 are not.
we got a Zoom question here from Dan Damon. He's muted. Huh, okay.
Dan, if you have a
Dan-
question, unmute yourself.
Yeah, give him a second.
I guess he's,
He might have stepped away.
all right,
You may not know it's on.
go ahead.
The single use permit could be a source of congestion, so I didn't know if you were gonna add the language that John suggested. If the 4 permits are sold, then a single use permit could not be issued. And the source of congestion I referred to is that one moment, somebody walk into John's office and say, hey, the pier's empty, I got a boat coming in 30 minutes. But all 4 buyers could have a boat coming in 30 minutes and John doesn't know that. So then we're being off put by somebody that paid $35 and we paid $5,000.
Yeah,
John said he already is doing that.
So is that gonna be language? My question is, are you adding that language?
I don't know. It hadn't been,
Single use.
I mean, I kind of,
I think if all 4 permits are sold, there's no single use permit available.
Right.
I think probably needs to say that in there then.
Yeah,
like-
so say,
It probably should.
sure, okay. we
I'm
can
gonna
put that in.
recognize Dan.
Yes.
Hello,
Hello.
did you have a question? Did you raise your hand?
No, I didn't have any question.
Oh, okay, all right.
I didn't know if you were trying to ask me something. That's what the only reason I turned it
Oh,
on.
I think
No,
the
your
hand
was
insignia
raised on the
is,
thing.
He might not even know what it means.
doesn't matter, thank you. Okay,
Donna's hands raised also, I think.
well, I guess, I don't think that means he wants to ask a question.
You know what? It's my Zoom. It's the mouse.
All right,
We do away with Zoom.
all right, I'm gonna kind of shut this off now because, we've got a lot of work to do. We want to accommodate you the best we can. I think there's some unfair issues, especially people that have a permit and don't use the facility. And I hope we can address it. I will say that I think our pier is almost maxed out for use. on a year-round basis. I really. Well, we seem to be the only one on Mount Desert Island that offers any real facility anymore. And, I don't know how we can handle much more. So. Southwest has gone downhill and Bar Harbor is non-existent. So, anyway.
We're gonna write all this up, make improvements. You're all welcome back next month. That's something we should discuss right now, Rick.
Yeah, well, go ahead. John's going away for our regular meeting.
So our next meeting, I'm proposing we do on February 19th, so Wednesday at 4:30.
Yeah.
Normally, we would have snuck in a day or so later, but with all of the warrant committees and everything else, this room is heavily used this time of year, getting ready for town meeting.
I'm gonna suggest something else too. If we have some real changes that need discussion. I would like to call a special town meeting, a special harbor committee meeting, and we could meet down at John's office. I think,
That'd be fun.
so that would be an email notification, all I can say right now. But if you're gonna write some proposals up, changes, we definitely have to discuss it.
Sure. Well, right, and we'll get to see them all before that.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
so what, February what is?
19th,
February
19th.
19th. Okay, got it.
4:30 right here.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I'm already gonna forget about it, so.
I'll send you a notice.
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks.
Stevie Smith does want us to expand Otter Creek facilities.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John.
I think
John,
the federal
An
government
update on the rink, the skating rink, because I saw people saying, wouldn't it be nice to have a food truck? That's a great idea,
Well, the town allows food trucks,
but they have to be permitted.
yeah, and there were 2 of them that were available last year and only 1 truck permitted.
The last 2 years, only one truck's.
Yeah.
But they don't
limited on-
seem to know that.
The season ends on.
Does it actually say
October 1st,
that?
or- Yeah, there's I don't know if it's October 1st or November 1st.
I mean,
That-
I think it
personally,
was
Yeah.
a season.
I wouldn't
There
have an
was, I don't
issue
know
with
if there still
with a
is.
food truck coming down and using the current food truck location. But other than that, I think that's really a selectman's issue if they want to allow a food truck during the winter. I mean, what could it hurt? There's nothing.
I don't have an issue with
No.
it, it's just that people on Facebook were just
Sure.
going off on their own.
Yeah, I think I would
think
support it.
the options available. for
I don't
them.
know about you folks,
They
but
don't know, they have to
they
permit it.
they would have to go to the board of selectmen to get that.
And then the warming hut thing,
Yeah, I've been approached again, they're really pushing, I've kept telling them that we would like for them to do some sort of mobile warming hut,
yeah,
because next fall is when the work is gonna be done on the tennis courts to put the chillers and redo the court and add the chillers. I think you all may be surprised at how large those chillers truly are, and I don't think we should approve any type of building down there to be put permanently until
Permanent
we
building.
see what the results are from those chillers.
well, and I've been doing my parking route, I don't think it gets used a whole lot.
Oh, the ring?
The rink,
Oh, there's a fair amount of use.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
During the middle of the
Well,
day.
when it's organized,
Yeah.
but, and they're talking about renting skates and then it
Sure.
gets into the commercial thing.
I think once they have their chillers in place and they can consistently have usable ice for 4 or 5 months solid, you'll see a big change, because as today, I shut it down at noontime because it was getting soft.
Okay, so I probably went by after that.
Sure, you know, once they have the chillers, they can keep that ice hard for 5 months straight almost from, you know, late November probably through till end of March. And I think that will change and provide a consistent ice quality for people to use, you know, day and into the night.
Well, and people can change their shoes in the back of their cars and
Sure.
bring a thermos.
Is it busier on the weekends than?
I would assume
Oh,
so.
I think so.
I didn't notice any
But,
warming hot or anything
but
on
I
the side
think
of
we
a
should
lake.
hold off on agreeing to
No.
any type of
I know.
permanent building or anything until that infrastructure is all in place. Because I think it's gonna take up a lot more room than any of us anticipate.
Didn't we think the compressors were gonna
That's
be
what I mean.
big and noisy?
They're gonna be large and depending on which ones they end up. They may be, with all the chillers they need, that may be almost as large as a shipping container. Maybe not quite as tall.
When, I'd like to say something when you get a minute too.
Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
Yeah, back about the, you know, the sound of the chillers, there was discussion about some sort of enclosure that, because they're so noisy, because they're so large and they're going to be constantly working, it could potentially have a tremendous impact on the neighbors, because that noise really carries. So what's going to happen is they're going to need to have some sort of enclosure. We discussed, you know, that the sound is going to be an issue. And of course, we don't have a noise ordinance, but we don't want to add noise when we know full well it's going to be a tremendous noise problem.
I think
So
that
that
we had.
structure
put
to
them
contain
to-
the sound is going to be even bigger than the chillers, if you can imagine that.
I think we had asked for them to provide us with some sort of decibel level, and I don't think we've ever
We
received.
haven't heard
it.
back anything about the design of how to contain the decibels or anything. Yeah, we're still waiting for that.
And would, a building that, or whatever it is, a structure that contains the sound, would that be permanent?
Oh,
They-
it would definitely
yeah.
have to be.
It would have to be, yeah,
When I
so that's,
mentioned the shipping container,
yeah,
originally, that's kind of the size of a building that would need to cover those. That's
big is
where I
it?
was,
because I thought they were gonna like haul it away during the summer. and
no,
then-
these will be permanent. These are huge, I mean,
I'd be surprised if you can contain them though, because I would think.
You have to-
Needed, wouldn't you?
You have to contain, the only containment, you know, maybe that's a overkill of a word, is it would be on 3 sides to block the sound so that they could be vented. But yet it's got to deflect the sound somehow, because the sound is going to be a tremendous issue for people. So that's why we were waiting to hear back of what they're going to do about it to, you know, prevent it from being a problem.
I don't think that I think a lot of the times things like the sound or building a structure aren't really taken into account by them. You
Oh,
know,
but we made sure that we told them that that was a big issue for us.
no, I know, but they're still moving ahead with this shipping container sized jet compressors that.
I don't, the compressors aren't quite that big, but the building to enclose them would be.
Same depth.
Container?
Yeah, it may be even longer, depending on whether they get the 1 or 2 big chillers or they have to go with the 4 to 6 small ones.
We better get a handle on this before, you know.
Also, they were going to
remember
get back to
when
us
they-
about the cost also of running
They
these
posted
chillers.
that out, and you guys went down and looked to see the footprint of how big they were.
Yeah.
I think they came off the side of the fence, like, I don't know,
I don't remember
18
going down and
feet
take a look.
and ran almost the whole length of the tennis courts, the long side.
I don't remember.
I don't remember it.
I don't remember seeing that.
I don't recall.
I don't
haven't
recall
seen
that.
it.
Them
I haven't
asking
seen
for
it.
chillers,
We haven't
so-
seen it was a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Adam, you have a question?
I have a comment on a different topic. I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
Rick, you said in your closing remarks 2 things that just sort of made me think. One is that there are buyers that aren't actively using the pier.
Right.
And 2 is that our pier is basically at max capacity for usage.
Yeah.
Which I would agree between the freight and things increasing, FedEx, UPS, lobster buying, the list goes on, right? So as we look at those permits that aren't being used actively, we have to ask, is there even room? What if all 4 permits were being used actively? That's a question I just wanted to put out to the board.
It's been discussed.
I was gonna make that same point. I feel like you almost, I mean, I don't know how the 4 was decided on. 4 is locked, 1 dog. Southwest is 3 for 2 dogs.
I'll tell you my opinion.
Can I just finish this?
Go ahead.
I feel like the 4 is almost designed, knowing that you're gonna have 1 or 2 that are there consistently and 2 doing random pickups, like.
I guess how I looked at it, and I'm not a lobsterman, is that I didn't think a truck would be there all day long. So that definitely, if that spilled over to 4 trucks, that would not work. You couldn't
That's where
have
you
4
get
trucks
the
waiting down there all day.
potential.
We've
You could have 4 that sat
discussed
there.
a fix for this, and I think you're about to say it, Chris.
So in this, in 9.16.2, at the end of it, number of permits issued will be limited to 4. And no bylaw issued more than 1 permit. The number of permits will be determined by the harbor committee after reviewing the usage of permits the previous year.
So
Well, that's
max
basically
of
what we're
4,
talking
and
about.
if these guys decided that 4 was overwhelming us, these guys could knock it back a number.
So if all of a
they
sudden
want to.
there's tractor trailer, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
it's 4 super aggressive, but that was the language to say, hey, the next year we review, like it's too much.
What that opens it up for is you could have a few buyers that aren't super active. The board interprets that as available space, you increase the number of permits or even change to a more active buyer, and then all of a sudden what was once interpreted as manageable is now unmanageable.
That's why we're gonna
What-
do it every year, and
what's
the
the
max
perfect
number is
system?
always gonna be 4.
What's the perfect system?
Reviewing it. you
Oh,
know.
don't tell me what you think the perfect system is for us to review. How would you propose us doing it? You pointed out what's wrong. Tell us how you would propose.
Well, I would base off of what Rick said, where the pier is at max usage, and if we identify maybe 2 permits that are regular, they can buy every day, and maybe 2 permits that can buy once a week, then. maybe
I don't think
just-
we wanna get into that. I think the ideal thing is, we have 4 max. We review it every year. If these guys decide that 4 is too much with the way things are going, and they back it down to 3 for the next year, and they will review again that year. And
Yeah,
So how do you?
so that's what the review, we've already discussed it. All the active buyers need to provide me by the end of November every year that they want to continue. Provide me with the proof of their usage. These guys review at their December meeting, determine how many permits are gonna be sold for the next season. I provide those. We have them all in place by the first of the year, and you go for another year. And it will be reviewed again the following December
How do you go?
every year.
Lottery.
if somebody is latent is one example, but then you could be replacing it with an active buyer, so.
Go ahead, Jim.
I don't believe the landings, like Mike was stating, actually has the appropriate information. It would be the port that the harbor, the port the boat is registered in. I don't think you'll be like looking up information and say, oh, well, this guy, like Ronnie, landed in Northeast and Southwest. You know what I mean? It doesn't separate per day. I don't believe. It's just landed under their registered harbor, to my understanding.
No, you have to, in the daily thing, you have to say what harbor you sold in.
Then maybe
No.
I'll have to look into
No,
that.
in your offload, I'm sure right on the vessel app right here, when you do it, you have to put the harbor you offloaded in. And I think everyone's happy with the status quo, and we can get that information the best we can. And so we know the numbers, that's like, how many, we can ask DMR to, how many people have unloaded Northeast Harbor the year? You know what I mean? And we're comfortable like what's going on now. And we have to be careful about exacerbating the usage, especially during the 4 months. So we need to gather some of that data and then move forward. But in this language, it's specific to say, hey, we know with maximum 4, and if the usage or, increases, something changes that we can counter, yes, It might be inconvenience, it might be too busy for this year, but nothing happens immediately. So I think we're trying to be thinking forward and listening to concerns of others all at the same time. In compromise, there's no one wins.
We also might find that having two active buyers and two who are not so active is a better fit than four active. So we need to take that into equation. If somebody's only coming twice a week as opposed to guys that are coming 4 days a week, that might be a solution too. So don't, just because someone is only buying maybe 1 or 2 days a week.
That, it's hard to take that into consideration when
It
you're
would be
having a lot
hard to
of.
manage.
You know, if. What we're asking us, we're trying to, be the decider on who makes money and who doesn't down there, and, it's, I don't know, that's gonna be out of our realm.
I think, as Adam said too, is if you had somebody that was sporadically in there and we said, you're not in here enough, and then we get another truck that's there all the time, it's gonna be a cluster.
If
And I also
we get
think
another
we have
truck
to
there all
remember
the
that,
time, it's gonna be too much.
I also think we have to remember that that dock is the town dock for every resident in this town.
Exactly.
That it's not the Northeast Harbor
This
lobster.
lobster
fishing
buying
dock.
thing is a whole new industry. I mean, it's less than 5 years old. We're dealing with something that was never like this before.
I mean, we've had,
Well, sure.
not as often, but yeah.
But the urchins was nuts when that happened. The
Yeah.
dock was,
But
remember that?
we've gone through cycles. I mean,
Yes, and in that dock, this is not a state funded pier. This isn't a state pier.
no,
This is a privilege to use this pier. It's not an inherent right, you being a resident of that, and we have to follow the rules and that, and we're balancing it the best we can to accommodate everybody.
What we need is David Gray's barge.
I
Yeah,
think we
cooking
need to
shrimp
be careful. what we
24
do.
hours a day.
What was his speech?
Okay, listen, we're gonna get pushed out of here, folks, with another meeting.
We're not until 6, keep going. I like.
Well,
We're done.
I think we've burned out here a little bit.
See, Harbor, good anything, right?
You want a motion to
Yeah,
adjourn yet?
I just.
Yeah, I do want a motion to
I
adjourn.
think
Wait,
Robert, we gotta,
No, go, I'll wait till the end, go ahead and do.
No, no,
we're getting ready to
I'm
adjourn,
just the
so
end.
you got something.
Well, I just wanted to, with all this stuff in Seal Harbor, at the last meeting, I gave, your. partner-
I have been in touch with them.
Okay, you
and
have.
Discussed the radar, LiDAR, whatever it
Good,
is.
good, cause that really should be done before they start having too many trucks down there. And,
The same company that, you gave me the information for is the same company that did our, inspection on our pier down here.
oh, is that right?
I
Okay,
was
yeah.
very impressed. But they do farm out the actual radar
He told me
inspection
that,
part.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cause he.
So, no, I've spoke with them.
Yeah, and they did Bar Harbor, that's why.
And I think probably looking at roughly about a $15,000.
It'd be worth it, better than have a truck go down through there.
No, I'm
Are you gonna
in
do it?
contact with them.
Yeah, good, good.
Yes.
Jen, are you gonna do it? Is your plan to?
We need to find a funding source and figure that out, but I think it's probably something that should be done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
Okay,
it's
folks.
rewarding.
We got a lot on our minds and a lot on our agenda, so. Keep us posted. If we have to have a special meeting this month, I would like to call it.
Okay,
And
Chris and I will work on this and get back to you.
I know we're not gonna make everyone happy, but we'll work on it. Motion to adjourn,
Make a motion to adjourn?
seconded. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you.
Not everyone's happy, you've done a good job.
Everybody stirred up.